Shall we begin?
Welcome to the Happy MonsterCast. I'm your host, Scott Marchand Davis of Happy Monster Press.
Let's begin now.
This week on the Happy MonsterCast, the Legion of Liberty take ship for Ireland in hopes of starting a revolt. Previously on the Happy MonsterCast, the Continental Army has formed the Legion of Liberty, a unit of superhumans fighting for freedom from the British Crown. Elijah Allen, Master of Mind Control, Artemis Crow, Invisible Assassin, Patnoit, the Wampanoag Swamp Monster, Clara Washington, Super Soldier, and Victoria Spellman, the Human Cannon. With a lull in the fighting, George Washington has summoned the Legion for a special mission that will take them to the restive island of Ireland. All right, let's get this show on the road. So it's been a few months since the Battle of Saratoga. There's still been plenty of action, but not a lot of major action. You heard word of a disastrous expedition by the Massachusetts militia against a small British force occupying a town on Penobscot Bay in the Massachusetts Northern Territory, which will someday be Maine. And then Washington calls you in, says, "Gentlemen, ladies, I have a mission for you. This mission is highly confidential, so I would request strongly that you not communicate to any of your friends or associates what you'll be pursuing here. We've identified a gentleman in the Irish Parliament by the name of Henry Grattan. He's pushing for home rule in Ireland, much like we wish to rule ourselves here in the colonies. And our thought is that perhaps if we can foment the same kind of revolt in Ireland that we have successfully created here, that British troops be diverted to that island and away from our front here in the Americas. I've made arrangements for a smuggling ship to transport you to Ireland. You'll arrive in the port of Cork and then have to make your way from there to Dublin. And I have information here," and he hands a packet to Elijah about Grattan's home there. Obviously, this mission is highly confidential. And I also, in that packet, have a specific envelope with a colonial sympathizer contact in Dublin. I would request you, Mr. Allen, to memorize and destroy this particular piece of information. And once you've met with Grattan and hopefully persuaded him to our cause, you can contact this individual and they will have further orders for you.
Yes, sir. You can count on me.
Do you have any questions, Legionnaires?
So we're to persuade the locals to revolt against their current occupation or whatever?
Well, as you know, Ireland is essentially a conquered province, and the local Catholic population has never felt comfortable with British rule. Minor revolts have been common, but we've never had an individual with the status of Grattan to support a push for home rule. An open revolt is not necessarily required, although I suspect that if a serious home rule movement began, the British would divert troops there to discourage it.
Interesting.
It could weaken them here.
Yeah. I'm just trying to brainstorm. Is there any particular information we can gather from the location? Like, I don't know, anything specific to know about
about Ireland?
Yeah. Just anything I can use about the location when I talk to them to appeal.
It is, as I said, the the Catholics have never felt comfortable under Protestant rule.
Okay.
Their papish religion is not supported by the crown. Further, the British do currently maintain a significant garrison within the Irish colonies, notably in Dublin. So you'll have to walk carefully when visiting that city.
Are there assurances that we could give them regarding American support should they revolt?
I fear our resources are fully committed to the war here in the colonies, although if we are successful, we certainly could provide some assurance that we would support their efforts as well. The only thing we really could offer is that should we persuade the French into an alliance with us, we may also be able to persuade them to ally with the Irish. Certainly the Catholic monarch would have sympathy with the Catholics of that island.
Are there a native Irish population of people with extraordinary abilities such as ourselves?
Certainly not. As you know, superhumans are only born in the Americas, and any Irishmen who immigrated here would likely have been conscripted into the Greycoats or would be serving in the Legion alongside you.
I see.
That might put us at an actual advantage, assuming the Greycoats haven't come over there.
Our intelligence indicates that Ireland is not considered of sufficient importance to merit a significant Greycoat detachment. They're needed more here in the colonies to fight against us, as well as to put down restive rebellions in the India countries.
Okay.
I believe they do maintain a significant force of Greycoats in England proper as a deterrent to the French and Spanish superhuman forces that might otherwise be tempted to invade. After all, the Royal Navy may form a wall of oak around the island, but that serves little if your opponents can fly.
What's our time frame for this mission?
Well, it takes several weeks to make the sail, and then hopefully you'll be able to persuade Grattan within a relatively short time upon your arrival in Ireland. But this being a mission of secrecy, we will provide ample time for you to accomplish it.
Anything else we should know about our contact?
I believe the less you know about your contact, the better for everyone concerned.
Assuming we get cooperation, how secret do we need to be after that?
Oh, you can reach your contact, and the contact will be able to smuggle you back out of Ireland one way or another. The situation will not necessarily be clear as to what we may need of you after your mission here. It's possible we might need your assistance elsewhere in Europe. It's also possible we might recall you back to the Americas.
We're here for service, sir.
Very well.
Let's send their rank.
May the wind be at your back and good hunting.
Thank you.
All right. So in the packet is information about a Dutch flagged trading sloop that you can meet in Philadelphia, as well as a map of Dublin showing the location of Grattan's home and the Irish Parliament House, and a contact protocol. There's not a lot of information about the contact themselves, but you go to a certain pub, order a certain drink, and supposedly then someone will contact you and provide further instructions.
Okay. So I'm to memorize it and then burn it, or burn it after we
memorize and destroy. Memorize and destroy was Washington's order. Yeah.
Okay.
Burn it first.
Yeah.
Burn it
after
after
read. We're going in hot, people.
Burn before reading.
Burn it, then memorize it. Wait.
I never read the manual.
All right, so I'm gonna do my best to memorize it even in one of my journals, I'll write some sort of like side note to help me remember. Just something that only I would understand.
I mean, it's not terribly complicated. I mean, it's basically the name of a pub and a specific drink that you're supposed to order.
Okay. Gotcha.
Singapore sling.
A continental shandy.
Ah,
Perfect.
Okay.
And the pub is the Three Trumpets. All right. So do you then report to the ship?
Yeah, are we good on any supplies? Like, can we get anything at this point?
Yeah, you can certainly requisition supplies from the. You can certainly requisition supplies. You probably will not be able to wander around carrying muskets. That'd be pretty conspicuous. So, if any of you want to pick up flintlock pistols,
Yes, please.
those would definitely be
something more common.
That's what I'm rolling with.
Elijah already has one. Pet Noit, do you want a flintlock? Do you want a flintlock, or you're going to stick with your axes?
Remember, if you take
I
two
don't know if
people,
Pet
you can
Noit's-
shoot back to back.
Like you
Just
can't do
FYI.
much to make him subtle.
Yeah.
make him subtle. That's not
Like
his
what
thing.
would it take?
I mean, you
That's
can
cheating.
conceal your axes certainly.
Why do I need a crutch?
Yeah, you don't have shooting anyway, so it wouldn't do you that much good. Okay,
Let's
Artemis.
get him a blonde wig. That should work.
Artemis already
I'm
has
gonna blend in.
flintlocks.
Yeah, I would just restock everything that I have. I don't really need anything additional.
How does is there armor options we can get? Because as of right now, doesn't look like I'm equipped with anything. Is there any type of like not necessarily armor, but I don't know,
Extra
padding? Yeah.
Armor wasn't really a thing in the era, so not so much.
Okay.
I mean, there were cavalry troops who wore plate corselets, which is what Clara is rolling with, but that's also pretty conspicuous. So you could pack it along, but you may not be wearing it.
I was thinking
all the
about
time.
something like I don't know if you had like leather equipment. Not because like I'm assuming armor also counts for like your clothing. So is there anything like I don't know. I guess I thought maybe they had some sort of padded vests or something during this period of time. I don't know much about it, so
No, you were pretty much just wearing thick wool, which is thick wool itself is you'd be surprised at the degree to which that will turn a blade. But it's not going to do much with bullets, and even the plate. If you hit that square on with a musket, it's going to punch right through.
Okay. I don't think I have any more.
Okay, so Clara, we have hooked you up with
A pistol. Yeah.
with a pair. That was pretty common to have. It was pretty common to have two because reloading takes a long time. So you shoot, drop one, draw the other one, shoot that one, and then potentially use it as a club.
Yep.
Works.
Yeah.
In close combat, it was also pretty common to have a sword in one hand and the pistol in the other.
Yep.
Usually the sword in your good hand because fencing is hard. And then if you were at short range, you'd basically just push the pistol up against somebody and pull the trigger.
hard to miss that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you'd be surprised. Flintlocks misfired on a pretty regular basis. If you
That would have to be some of that.
especially in wet weather.
Yes.
Notably, a few decades hence, a guy tried to assassinate Andrew Jackson, and both of his flintlocks misfired.
Oops.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
right. When
With
did
their
we-
good
when
powder
did we-
burns.
And then Davy Crockett tackled him.
When do wheel locks come on the scene?
Wheellocks were earlier. The flintlock was basically the last thing before percussion caps.
Yep.
And percussion caps hit initially in the early 19th century, but they were very expensive. So it didn't become regular line equipment until later in the 19th century. But there were, officers running around in the Napoleonic Wars who had percussion cap pistols, for example.
All right. So it would be unreasonable at this stage, like impossible, I guess, at this stage for us to switch to the percussion cap.
Yeah, they really didn't exist in this era. Even rifling was unusual, and not necessarily all that popular either, because it was so much slower to load. Battlefield was really about, pouring as much lead downfield as possible, and if you're doing that in a tight formation, then you can do a lot of damage at short range. Long range, you might as well be throwing rocks at them, but short range, you could. Right. It was bad.
Mass fire approach.
Okay. Exactly. Yeah, and that's why so far in the war, in open field type engagements where it was just lining up on a battlefield opposite each other, the British have done pretty well. As soon as you get out of an open field where you're skirmishing and you're in the woods or you're in rough terrain and things like that, that's where the colonists have really had more of an advantage.
Screw the flatland.
Pretty much, yeah. Didn't work out well for them.
No, right. I don't like that chess nonsense. Hit them where it hurts.
So you hit the sloop. It makes a relatively calm passage across the Atlantic, and the Dutch-flagged sloop tacks into Cork Harbor. And the captain expertly lines up with one of the slips along the docks. A cool sea breeze blows out from the land, clearing some of the smoke, shadowing the small port city of Cork. So you're now in Cork. How are you going to make your way to Dublin? So for perspective, you are currently here, and you want to
Dublin
be here.
Right there.
Yeah.
Where was the first place you pinged? It again?
Down in the south.
Yeah, Cork.
South.
Cork.
And we can't sail up
I just zoom out.
the coast?
I mean, is there any control on the sailing? Any reason why we couldn't just hire a ship and sail us up the coast?
You absolutely could take passage on a coasting ship, yes.
Would that make us more conspicuous?
Let's do that.
Or would it be...
It's more expensive than going overland, but otherwise, no, it wouldn't make you particularly conspicuous.
Okay. Let's go do that then.
We can do that, yeah.
All right,
yeah,
so
more people to look at us.
Yep.
That is true. So you are able to find passage on a coasting ship. It's not unusual at all because it's a lot faster and easier to carry large cargo than going overland by the very sketchy roads of Ireland at this point. Actually, they're still pretty sketchy. Ireland's one of 3 countries where they don't have reciprocal car insurance if you rent a car there. So with that, the passage is pretty quick. It just takes about a day. You make your way into the port of Dublin. Dublin is definitely a more substantial city than Cork, therefore smokier and dirtier, but also with some pretty substantial and palatial homes, as well as some pretty decent government buildings. This is one of the few places in Ireland where the British have made some investment in infrastructure, if you will. And so you're put ashore in Dublin. What's your next move? How are you going to approach this guy?
Well, the first thing to do is to locate this tavern, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. So bearing in mind, though, Washington's instructions were to use the contact after you complete your mission.
All right.
Oh, so we need to find Henry Breton first.
Yeah.
And he's a political figure, so I would imagine that he's not hiding.
Well, no, and you have a map showing his home, and the map also shows about a dozen different pubs in Dublin, one of which is the 3 Trumpets that you're supposed to rendezvous with. So you have a pretty clear idea of where both his home, his place of work, which is the Irish Parliament, and the pub where you're supposed to have your follow-up contact is.
Okay. Well, let's find an inn and kind of check in and settle ourselves.
Okay, that's easy enough. They do look a little bit askance at both a black woman and a Native American. And
I look askance right back. Screw them.
Come from the Americas, have you?
No, I was born here.
You're quite a joker. Yeah. Yeah. So I hear the war. I hear the war's pretty bad there.
The worst Irish accent I've ever heard.
That's terrible.
Are there keys to the room?
Well, how do you know what an Irishman sounded like in 1797, after all?
Sure as hell didn't.
Oh, boy.
Okay. I can hear that you're doing your best. So, war is always a tragedy, no matter who is winning.
I have me a cousin in Nova Scotia. I hope the war doesn't reach there. So I imagine you're all very loyal to our good King George. And he sort of gives you a wink.
You wink right back, but of course.
Exactly.
Right then, how many rooms will you be needing?
I'm going to take my own. Oh, wait, I can room with Victoria.
Yeah.
So 2 rooms then. Very well. And he hooks you up with keys. And is there anything else I can help you with?
Yes, could you send up a pot of coffee and a bottle of whiskey, please?
Whiskey's no problem at all. Coffee is a bit hard to come by. That'll cost you, I'm afraid. 2 shillings a pot. Tea we have.
There we go.
Okay, I'll take tea.
Okay, so you're ensconced in your rooms. You have your sea chests, which include your in Clara's case, your shield and breastplate are packed in there.
So I think we should go find this Henry Grayton. I'd actually like to sit in on the Irish Parliament and see what the how it feels.
Okay. So you know where it is. Whether or not it's in session is a whole other question, of course.
Right.
And also whether it's open to the public. And I'm sure your innkeeper could probably help you out.
Somebody go talk to the guy. He's way chatty for me.
Okay, I'll inquire. She wants to know from him. The barkeep.
Yes, sir. What can I do for you today?
I'm what was specifically do you want me to ask him?
If Irish Parliament is in session and if we can observe.
Right. Yeah. Is the Parliament in a session right now, sir?
Interested in our local government, are you? Well, it's not like they do much for much of anyone, really. Mostly just sit around jabbing. But yeah.
Yeah, boring stuff, but we're interested nonetheless.
They're in session.
Oh, can you tell me where and for how long?
They're sitting for the next couple of weeks, as far as I know, but they don't allow the likes of us into the galleries, I'm afraid. If you're not a peer or wealthy landowner, you might as well whistle for a seat.
Well, I still like to see it nonetheless.
Okay.
Thanks for the tip, though, friend.
You're more than welcome. And listen, if you're looking for some fine Irish lassies, I can direct you in that direction as well.
And that would be why I'm not talking to the guy.
Yeah. I'm sorry, sir. I'm very taken myself, but I appreciate the suggestion.
Very well. You seem like a good church-going lad.
Indeed.
Are you of the mother faith, or do you follow the Protestants?
It's one God, sir. This one God.
Oh, I like the way you think, sir. I do. If you need a reference for where to worship that god on Sunday, I'd be more than happy to direct you.
Yes. Please give me that location as well.
Well, we have the cathedral. That's just a few streets over. If you care to take mass, or if you prefer the Anglican faith, then we have that chapel as well. And I think if you look carefully, you might be able to find a Methodist or two.
Oh, that's good to know.
The Methodies don't sit right with me, though. Anyone who doesn't like a good dram of whiskey at the end of the night is no friend of mine.
Of course.
It is the water of life.
That note, I'll take a
spice
pint.
was flow. As will I.
Right. So what's your next move?
I think that might I have ready to walk around Dublin and to try to sort of listen in to get the sense.
Hopefully, you guys should do some reconnaissance.
Foment, take a pulse of the place.
Absolutely. So that would be a networking, which it's from the sound of it, you're going to do it the quote nice way, which would mean that
supposed to be low key, so that would be preferred.
Yeah. So I would like you to make a persuasion roll.
Here it comes. It's not great.
It's not bad.
All right, so you do get a sense of the city. It's clear that there are some factions here. There's definitely a faction that is not happy with the British occupation and would just as happy to see them gone. But they don't necessarily feel like that's likely to happen without outside help. But there's also a faction that are perfectly happy to have the British here that maybe are a little less enamored of the Catholic faith and more of the British pound.
So the stability of just kind of governmental control, even though governmental control.
It's clear that the British are worried about the potential for Irish revolts. There's a fairly sizable garrison in town. And the people who are anti-British are pretty careful about where they meet. And so it's more a matter of you using your invisibility to overhear things that they might not be saying if there was somebody nearby that they didn't know.
Okay. I guess the big question that we really need to answer is, or that I'm trying to get a sense of, if they do, if there's, sort of discontent and people cause trouble. It's one thing to have malcontents, smashing a few windows and setting a hay wagon on fire. That's quite different than a full-blown uprising. There needs to be a pretty substantial movement for that. Do I get any sense that is in the wind, or is that the kind of thing that we could, we're only one small group here. Is that something that we could light a fire to and see happen, or is it still, very diffuse?
It's diffuse, but it seems like it wouldn't take that many sparks. You also get some information. You also hear some information about the Parliament, and that there's frustration on the part of some parliamentarians that pretty much everything they do in the Irish Parliament has to then be approved by the Privy Council in England.
Right.
So they're basically kind of hamstrung to do anything significant. Certainly nothing that the Privy Council would like, but literally they have no direct power. They can just toss things over to the Privy Council, and the Privy Council can say yay or nay, and they have no recourse if they say no. So there's definitely some frustration, not only among the Catholic population, but also among the Protestants who form the Parliament. And that's the other thing that you find is that for the most part, the Parliament is thoroughly Protestant. as are most of the landowners and nobility of Ireland.
Is the complaint kind of similar that the Protestants are and Catholics are upset about British rule, or is it more the Catholics are upset about more power and wealth being held by the Protestants, and they happen to be more closely aligned with British kind of
It's
thing?
certainly that. Plus, there's a lot of bad blood history going on here.
You think maybe?
It famously Oliver Cromwell during the conquest of Ireland said that his main problem with Western Ireland was that there wasn't a tree to be found to hang a man. And Cromwell was also the originator of the quote, "Slay them all, God will recognize his own," with respect to sieges in Ireland. So yeah, the initial conquest and really the subsequent occupation has been pretty heavy-handed and brutal. And Catholics are forbidden from a lot of things, including significant landholding,
right,
public office. It's it's definitely a minority rule situation happening here.
Well, okay. Are we back together where we could all be discussing what we've seen during the course of the day?
Yeah, you can come back and feedback what you've come up with.
Okay. So, I mean, I share with everybody what I've seen and heard, and basically there's discontent, but there's not really a kind of a strong
unified.
A unified front that would come together in the way that there was a unified front of people that came together to sign our Declaration of Independence and kick off our War of Independence. I mean, I'm not getting the sense that there is that kind of leadership, or even that there's the kind of resources. We had a lot of our colonists. I mean, yeah, we were under the thumb of the British rule, but we had a lot going on independently. We didn't have. We're so far away that they couldn't step on us the way they're stepping here in the Irish.
It's also true that unlike Ireland, there was a substantial colonial militia which existed primarily for both defense against the indigenous peoples of the Americas, but also against the French and to a lesser extent the Spanish.
And so those guns could be turned against those soldiers, and those guns could be turned against the British. And there's not that kind of an Irish militia, which I think deliberately so. I think the English have very much prevented that from happening. And if the Irish militia were to kind of come to the fore or come in place, rise up, I mean, they're only across the channel, which we'd have to work really hard to get this thing going.
Well, I mean, I get is there a way to unify the groups for some kind of more guerrilla warfare type of thing, as opposed to there's an army, a standing army or a militia against another standing army or militia?
Well, it's certainly possible. It's notable that this is that Grattan himself is a Protestant. So if he could ally with some of the more radical Catholics to push for home rule or even independence for Ireland, then that would be a significant change in the politics of the region.
I mean, it sounds like we should go talk to Grattan, right?
That's what you were ordered to do. So, details.
Yeah, that is the next thing. But now that we have like a lay of the land of what kind of effort this might be.
Hey, 2 birds, 1 stone.
So, what's your game plan for going to visit Grattan?
I mean, I feel like we should have a fairly, I don't know. It'd be nice to have a measure of the man before we go to see what kind of arguments would work.
Yeah.
Besides some vague promise of potential French alliance or support.
Well, Washington Washington does have a fair amount of briefing information about Grattan in the materials that he gave you.
Oh, he had mentioned
please,
that. The
read
less
them-
I know about him,
Read them
the
aloud.
better. But yeah, I would have definitely shared that.
So here's what you know about this guy. He's Anglo-Irish, so he's of British
Okay.
descent, but grew up in Dublin, which in England tends to make you kind of a second-class citizen.
Right.
He attended Trinity College in Dublin and studied oratory.
Mm.
And then he became he's pretty well known for his speaking, and is pretty eloquent. He went into politics pretty quickly after finishing school, became a member of the Irish Parliament, and he is definitely in that group that is frustrated by the need to run everything through the English Privy Council.
How old is he?
Grattan is, I'm going to go ahistorical here because I don't remember off the top of my head, but I'm going to say he's about 40.
Okay. So he's more at an age where he's kind of like, I should be in power, as opposed to somebody young who's maybe a bit more of a firebrand, or somebody who's older and wants to leave a legacy.
Right. Yeah, he's at the age where he's reached, peak frustration where he's like, I'm perfectly capable, my colleagues are perfectly capable of
Right.
Managing Ireland and passing local law on our own. We don't need to be running everything through London.
Right.
Is that what his speeches are known for when he speaks in public?
He's known for his advocacy for home rule for Ireland. He isn't necessarily known as a huge friend of the Catholics or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I mean, I guess.
Will he work with them?
How
though?
do we?
You'd have to ask him. That much is beyond what you have in your brief or for any rumors that you heard on the streets.
Okay.
So how do you want to approach this guy?
I'm just going in neutral, like not trying to, I don't know, act as casual as we can to break the ice and then maybe get into it.
So some of the biggest complaints that the colonies had was the whole taxation issue. What are some of the biggest legislative complaints, or what are some of the biggest complaints that the Irish have?
Land ownership, distribution, and tenancy are a big deal. Even for the Protestants, having more flexibility in that would be handy. There's certainly, Protestants who are minded to manage their estates more carefully, and then there are absentee landlords, which the Protestant landlords who are in Ireland trying to make it a go of it aren't real thrilled with the absentee landlords.
And is it the local British garrison that enforce all these rules?
They are certainly responsible for enforcing public order, but there's also a law. There's also a, again, heavily Protestant law enforcement structure that enforces British law as well as the local laws that are permitted to pass by the Privy Council. There are sheriffs and things like that.
I wonder what it would take to get those guys on our side. But maybe Grattan would know, right? So
yeah, challenging
at a minimum. Yeah.
All right, so you're gonna go visit this guy?
Sure.
It sounds like the next step. Yeah.
At home or at work?
I don't think that we should all go. That might be a little bit overwhelming.
Yeah, I agree. I think a couple of people. I think I should probably stay at the inn. Make sure nobody's rifling through our rooms.
Okay.
And just not be a tall black woman walking around Ireland or Dublin.
I mean, there's rainy weather. You could wear a hood.
I could.
I'm more concerned about Pet Noah and his persistent refusal to wear pants.
How populated is
Maybe
the
it's
bar at
cold.
the inn?
There actually isn't a bar at the end. There's a dining room, but there's a tavern next door, which is very popular.
Okay. I think it probably would be in my best interest to go find a corner table in the tavern next door and just sit there for a while
Yeah,
Okay.
and keep my ears open.
good idea.
You know, be that strange guy in the corner.
Gotcha. Because splitting the party is always a good idea.
Yes, it worked out really well last time we did it. We almost got George Washington killed. So this is gonna bode well.
I'm going to practice. I'm going
He's
to be
a
like Frank.
soldier.
Stand
Come
really
on.
still.
Okay,
Become
so
invisible.
there we go. As long as you're not eating snacks.
Okay.
So who is going?
I'm gonna go. Can help out of many different situations if you can be well as talk to this
I'll
guy.
go.
I can
I'll
make
go.
a scene.
Yeah,
So you're going. So who all's? So Victoria, Artemis, and Elijah are going to go.
I think so.
Okay, and
Sounds
how
about
subtle
right.
do you plan on being in this endeavor?
Subtlety is my forte.
You're going to try to sneak to the house, or just kind of go openly?
Well,
Let's try to
I mean,
sneak.
we obviously look like Americans, right? I mean,
Well, I mean, but Americans look like British people in this era, so that's not that. You know, that's if you leave Clara and Pet Noah behind, you're not going to stand out.
Don't put on your
Okay.
red baseball cap.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to wear your Continental Army uniforms with your Legion of Liberty insignia, that would probably be kind of conspicuous.
Well, all right, then I guess we'll just sort of, go normally, openly. We won't make a big deal out of it. No.
Flying casual,
As long-
as it were.
I mean, is there any reason for us to be concerned about going to the guy's house?
That you know of?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Well,
Other than Washington being pretty emphatic about it being a covert operation.
right,
Okay,
tell
so
you
we
what,
should be stealthy.
Okay, I'll be invisible and I will go in advance and I'll kind of lead the way and scout it out. And if I see anything suspicious, like people watching us or tailing us or watching the route, or looking for people to approach this guy, I will come back and I will tell Victoria and Elijah.
Okay.
Yeah, sounds great.
All right. So I would like you to make a notice roll, and I'm going to make some other rolls.
There you go. How about that for a notice roll?
That's a very respectable notice roll.
Damn.
Woo!
Yeah.
Give it. Huh.
All right. Let's see here. First roll that I'm going to make.
I mean, that is practically almost as good as I can possibly make.
It's almost a 10.
Still not beating your notice so far. All right. So and if that doesn't work, then it's not going to do anything. All right. So you go rolling along here, and as you are moving invisibly towards this house, you're paying very sharp attention to the crowd, and you see a familiar face in the crowd.
Uh-oh.
And that familiar face is Kawita.
I knew it was this chick.
Oh,
She's going to be here.
And as you look more closely, you also spy two other familiar faces. Jean Pellissier and Georgia Rue, the two people that you just recently fought at the Battle of Saratoga. And that is where we are going to leave it for tonight.
Goodness.
Oh my goodness.
Man, every time we split the party.
I know, and we're about to meet.
Well, he's on his own right now, though. He's doing reconnaissance, so
And he's
as long as he
invisible.
doesn't get seen, he can come get us, and we can go.
So,
And he's currently invisible. Although I need you to make an invisibility roll to make sure you don't lose your invisibility.
You're
Spend bennies if you have to.
as it were.
But you're able to concentrate, so yes, you remain invisible.
Excellent.
Okay.
All right, so you have met the enemy, but they do not yet know that you are there. So that's where we will leave it.
oh, boy.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Game, guys. Good game.
You can follow Happy Monster Press on Facebook as Happy Monster Press, at our website, happymonsterpress.com, Twitter as Happy Monster PRS, or follow the podcast on YouTube, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, iTunes, or Google Play Music. The Happy MonsterCast is part of the Savage Worlds Media Network. This game references the Savage Worlds game system available from Pinnacle Entertainment Group at www.peginc.com. It is unofficial media content permitted under the Media Network Content Agreement. This content is not managed, approved, or endorsed by Pinnacle Entertainment Group. Certain portions of the materials used are the intellectual property of Pinnacle and all rights are reserved. Savage Worlds, all related settings and unique characters, locations, and characters, logos, and trademarks are copyrights of Pinnacle Entertainment Group. All other content is the intellectual property of Happy Monster Press. Background music is Ice Cold by Jason Shaw.
Oh, for sure.